Yeah.
So there haven't been these ongoing negotiations. There haven't been these ongoing talks.
Look, there have been communications between his attorney and the government, just basic communications, especially his attorney reaching out saying, hey, we're here as you're going through the documents, if you have any questions. But deliberations and real specific discussions, from my reporting, I know that they didn't really begin until last week. And so for weeks, people have been saying, Cohen's really quiet, Cohen's really quiet. Is it because there are conversations? And from my reporting, it's not that. He was out of the news cycle. Why put himself back in the news cycle? And last week, that's when these sort of conversations really began in earnest.
And he pleads guilty today, and there's no cooperation agreement that goes along with the plea.
Well, if you're only talking for the first time last week and over the weekend at the beginning of this week, we know from all the very smart lawyers who are on this network all the time that a cooperating agreement takes a lot of time. It takes a long weeks, if not months, to get the witness to a place where they trust the witness, to work out all of the details that you want to work out. So if you're only starting this last week,
isn't that fascinating that prosecutors didn't want to start those conversations with him earlier, that they didn't want to develop into a cooperating witness?
Well, as you read in the transcript at the beginning of the show, the government went through each charge and what evidence they had for each of those charges. And so if they were intent on bringing those charges, they had what they needed. They took more than 3 million documents from him in April. It seems like they had testimony from people that they already had impaneled the grand jury of people who were witnesses, who if not already testified, were willing to testify. And so they had what they needed on these charges.
Cohen today directly implicated the president in 2 felonies. Felonies to which Cohen has pled guilty, to which serious jail time is attached. Lanny Davis just suggested on our air live moments ago that Mr. Cohen, in addition to those remarkable statements today in court, would be happy to speak with the special counsel on matters potentially including the president having advanced knowledge of the crime that took place during the campaign, which was the hacking of documents from the Democratic Party, that Michael Cohen may have knowledge that the president had advanced warning of that happening, and he'd be happy to talk to special counsel about it. I'm bumbling that in the way that I say it because it just happened right here live and I'm still processing it. How do you process that, and what can you add?
Michael Cohen had a front row seat to a lot that was happening in Trump Tower during the campaign and in the last decade. So that was the first time that I had heard that. The stuff about the Trump Tower meeting, the stuff about him knowing about the president having advanced knowledge of these payments that he made to women. Actually, when I was on your show, I had said to you those exact 2 things had come up in his initial interview with George Stephanopoulos on ABC in July. And I said to you, those aren't breadcrumbs, those are loaves of bread. And that's because those are things that I knew to be true that Michael Cohen had known. So I had no advanced knowledge of the hacking situation. Would it surprise me that a person like Michael Cohen, who was in Trump Tower day in and day out and had almost daily access to the president during that time, would know that kind of information? No.
And it's your expectation that if he knows that information,
Now you done and pissed me off. You ain't done something you shouldn't have done. Baby, I'm mad. I'm going on. Oh, I'm going on.
He's been through a very tough day. His wife and his two children and his family are, I would say, suffering from this type of event, and so is Michael. But in one very important respect, Michael is relieved. He's a good man with a good heart that I've discovered, but he's relieved and liberated is the word I would say to your audience, because now he has no shadow hanging over him. The uncertainty is gone. He has stepped up to the line, and he has admitted what he did wrong, but he is now liberated to tell the truth, everything about Donald Trump that he knows, that led him to approach someone like me, who he knows politically doesn't share anything with President Trump. And from this point on, you're going to see liberated Michael Cohen speaking truth to power.
In terms of what you just said there, I just want to underscore what you referenced, that Mr. Cohen has information about the president and his advanced knowledge of the crime of hacking during the campaign. And you're saying that Mr. Cohen, whether or not he's already spoken to the special counsel's office, he would be happy to discuss that with the special counsel, separate and apart from everything that happened today in the Southern District of New York.
Well, I hate to be overly legalistic with you, but I'm not going to confirm what knowledge Michael has. I will confirm that Mr. Mueller, who I greatly respect, will have a lot of interest in what Michael has to say. And by the way, on just the crime of directing somebody to commit a crime, as you pointed out in your opening, it was a crime for President Trump to direct Michael Cohen to the crime of a campaign finance donation that exceeded the legal limitations. There's something else interesting that isn't so obvious. Why didn't President Trump do this himself? Why didn't he write or sign the check himself? Was he covering up because he knew that there was something wrong in what he was doing, so he directed his lawyer to do something that he didn't want anybody to know that he did? I think the answer to that question is obvious. So there's a cover-up here by our now President of the United States that is undeniable. He directed Michael Cohen to make this payment of $130,000. He didn't have the courage, or at least didn't want to expose himself politically so soon before the election, so he directed his lawyer to do that, which he was not willing to do.
Lanny Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. You know, I'm glad the Clintons didn't kill all of their lawyers. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. And welcome to the Lost-Begotten channel. Hi, I'm John. I'm the Lost-Begotten. I don't know why I'm talking like this, so I'm going to stop now. Yeah. I just went with that, didn't I? I just kind of committed to it and didn't really... Yeah. What can I say? I'm a special boy. But anyways, thanks for joining me, y'all. And, hope y'all had a lovely, whatever day it was yesterday, Tuesday. Yeah. Because, Trump didn't. Of course, he goes and has his little campaign rally, because he's got to pretend everything's okay, I suppose. But, what's fascinating is he didn't mention the existence of either his campaign manager or his former lawyer. Didn't mention the existence of Stormy Daniels or Avenatti or any of those situations, you know. Just for once, he did not talk about, you know, what was on his mind. And I'm thinking, good call. You really shouldn't talk about these kind of things in a live event when you're clearly going to get extremely flustered. I'm sure all of his advisors were like, whatever you do, don't even say a fucking thing. I don't care what you think you want to say about it. Just don't. No. We'll take your Twitter away. Have we ever had a president that, like, people actually considered needs babysitting? Boy. Oh, look, Tony. Tony got to interview Michael Avenatti. Good for you, Tony. Chris Cuomo. Come on, that's not a Chris. Look at his face. That's a Tony. There's an Angelo. He's an Angelo. Angelo Cuomo. So, Avenatti has been doing the rounds. I'm sure today was a good day for him. Bad day for Trump. Bad day for the Rushablicans in general. Because also today we had that annoying Republican guy that keeps on going on fucking Bill Maher and his wife indicted for fucking campaign finance violations. So let me get this straight. You had the Russians, you had campaign finance violations from your own campaign, and you had campaign finance violations from supporting campaigns. But there are people who actually consider this person to be the president and, like, legitimately holding the office in some way? Nope. Still not my president, motherfuckers. I may be stubborn, but I'm right. To me, this all couldn't be going any better. This just couldn't be going more swimmingly. To think of the things that when I first made this channel, that I was trying to get people just to mention. You remember when this channel first got fucking started 3 years ago? Okay. Yeah, it's been over 3 years now. Okay. Started this channel in February. It's now August. Started in February of 2015. It's now 2018. And the first thing that I made a theme of, after bringing up and covering the basics of the problems of the issues, and being a little bit vague, I suppose, I made the entire first year about none of these fucking people talk about Russia. Why don't people understand that Russia exists and it is like a real place with real people? You know, not just some fictional country that sits around waiting to leak information to you, to help you. Think about 2 years ago. How these fuckers were just getting away with everything they've ever done to this country. And now we actually have a large percentage of this country considering just how deep does this divide and conquer go? Just how long has this strategy been set against us? As much as I would prefer to have Hillary Clinton as the president right now, it's hard for me not to be glad Trump won. I mean, on the one hand, I think about my daughters. You know, I think about, like, how the fuck does somebody with that many goddamn moral problems get allowed to succeed? And the implications of that going forward. It terrifies me when I think about, you know, they're going to be dating in a few years. And I don't know, like, do like little boys even have respect for girls anymore because of this motherfucker? You know, like, I gotta rely on Fox News parenting to make sure that my child doesn't get fucking harassed and God knows what else. But on the other hand, it was bad enough for people like that to have gotten into the primaries, let alone nominated. So making him president, it's been a little bit of a mixed blessing, but still, fucking blessing. Because what you have here is the example. Yep. This man had to cheat his way up, had to betray his country, and essentially has no soul He is the representation of people who disrespect women. And I think people who just read the book of Genesis and see where it says enmity between her and the serpent, between her seed and his seed. You have a clear pattern throughout history of evil people doing evil things because they're chauvinists, because they lack balance. Anyways, I'm actually quite surprised that I managed to speak consistently for over 10 minutes now, because I've been having the worst fucking headache. Oh. We are out of coffee. Thank you to the person who recently sent the $42, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have those cigarettes, and my kid's birthday party wouldn't have really been able to happen. We would have had cake but no food. I mean, you know, not that I have a problem with that, but I didn't actually wind up eating either, though, so... I don't know if I mentioned this, but there's this other thing that burns. I don't really eat very well, or sleep very well. Like, at all, really, much. Without that one thing, you know, my wife goes to the doctor and we spend just a shit ton of money on clinic visits and appointments and co-pays and prescriptions. Thank God my dad's loaning us some money to get a plane ticket for her to go to this fucking eye specialist. I think we got like $165 round trip. Got a great deal on the plane ticket, but you know, I just sit here and I barely eat anything, especially for the amount of work that I get done. All I do is I have this thing that burns. And it calms my nerves so I can function. And you know, I'm not really convinced per se that it's the nicotine. I mean, yeah, nicotine is an addictive substance that has an effect on your endorphins and whatnot. Right. But for me, it's always been a lot more about the psychological addictiveness of just having something burning. You know, just the peacefulness of watching the smoke rise. There's something ancient and sacred. Something about, like, it just connects you to all of your past lives, because how many lives could you have lived where you didn't get to watch smoke rise from a fire? or a candle, or a stick of incense, or a lantern. Anyways, that's my 10-minute spiel for justifying the fact that I bought fucking cigarettes. And, other things. But we forgot to get coffee. What the fuck is that? What the hell are we gonna do? Joey, if you watch this, can you send us another bag of that coffee? I have like half of a Keurig shot left of that coffee. I've made it last this long. Speaking of coffee, I have my remaining, 4 Keurigs to last until somebody comes through. And dude, so I usually have 3 cups of coffee over the course of a day. 1 in the morning, and then 1 in the afternoon, and then 1, when I start the broadcast. I skipped my afternoon one, and all I ate today was a fucking ham sandwich, and that was at fucking 7 p.m. And by then, with the no coffee and the hunger and because I've been feeling fucking off for about a week now. Oh, this headache had gone into full swing. It's feeling a little bit better, just because I'm, keeping myself occupied, and I had some coffee and took some Tylenol and aspirin, and for me, the best headache cure, I've tried all kinds of different prescriptions that doctors have put out there. I've tried all the different headache medicines, from Bayer to whatever. BC powder. The best thing, long term, okay? See, BC powder ones, they, to me, they build up an immunity too quickly. And you might get a relief from a headache the first time, and then the next day it's going to be half the relief. What I do is I keep a big old fucking bottle of Tylenol and a big old fucking bottle of aspirin. If I got a headache just starting, I'll take an aspirin and a Tylenol, one of each. If I just got a fuzzy feeling in the morning, just my circulation doesn't feel that great, just 1 aspirin. If I got a mild headache, feels like it could get worse, I'll take 1 aspirin and 2 Tylenol. If I got a fully blown fucking migraine headache, I will take 2.5 or 3, depending on severity, aspirin, and Tylenol, and 2 aspirin. 3 and 2. 3 Tylenol and 2 aspirin for the worst fucking headache for somebody who's 6'3", 180 pounds. Yeah. Shit, as skinny as I am right now, I'm probably down to 168 again. That's usually my bottom. I'm probably maybe 172-ish. 168 is no fluff around the midsection. I got a little fluff around the midsection right now. just old man weight. Just fuck you, you're old weight. That's all that is. There's nothing anywhere else on my tongue. Just like I'm some sort of a fucking kangaroo. There's supposed to be a pouch there. What the fuck? Yeah. I used to do 120 crunches a day. Those were the days. People don't realize, if you got back problems, circulation problems in general, problems with fatigue, stamina, a lot of different problems. Even problems sleeping at night. Oh yeah, problems sleeping at night. All these things can be pretty much fixed by doing a 7-angle sit-up routine. Now, unless somebody comments and says, I want to see your fucking Muay Thai 7-angle sit-up routine, I'm not going to show you. But, use your brain, you know? You figure out a bunch of different fucking angles to do crunches at. The more you do, the better. Maybe you can come up with 9. I don't know. Maybe you can come up with 10. But I just like the ring to it, you know? 7-angle sit-ups. Sounds like it should be like a little DVD with some bald chick saying, "Stop the insanity!" Anybody remember that special girl? In hindsight, and I wonder if there's any organization in our government powerful enough, wise enough to do these kind of things. I wonder if there's like a connection between Stop the Insanity chick and like different producers of music videos of people who just wound up dead and things like that. I wonder if there's anybody going and trying to connect different producers and casting agencies, of course, about this per se. All right, unless things can be found conclusively and that you know lead eventually to indictments like we have with Cohen and Manafort. But we need to, for the sake we have, assume that there is no context for suspicion based upon the lack of greater context that we have in governing ourselves. We assume this lack of great influence on behalf of the Russian Federation in general, when that is not the case. So to assume that there's been no involvement by the Russian Federation in these celebrity deaths, it's a result of the same misunderstanding of reality, the same failure to perceive basic fucking situational awareness. The situation is, you dropped your guard against people who have wanted to destroy you since you began to exist as a country. This struggle, this war, has gone on longer than World War II. And the fact that it's gone on since World War II, before any of us alive here today were fighting it, on either side, should open up the door, logically, to the idea that it's gone on even further than that. And for people to think they know because of Stalin and Lenin and Trotsky, those are just stories you were told. They don't represent any actual knowledge. How much do you know about Abkhazia, and South Ossetia, the First Chechen War. How much do you know about those things? Do you really know about those things? Damn near nothing. All you know is that some shit blew up. You don't necessarily know who blew up, what, when, and why. Do you? That's why, and not to repeat myself or anything, but for these past many years on this channel, I have been saying this other little phrase, not just like, people pretend like the Russians don't exist, and that's, kind of telling of where all the propaganda has been coming from. It seems pretty fucking obvious to me. But that the lines on the map, as they move throughout history, they tell an incontrovertible story. Okay, you can read the accounts and the descriptions and the opinions all you want. But, it's just, kind of nonsense. You see, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and most of them are full of shit. But as far as the lines on the map goes, when you see how they move throughout history, there's 1,000 years ago. And there's 500 years ago. I like to move it, move it. Is that the song for the lines on the map? I like to move it, move it. Oh, I get it. It's like conquering disco, because they like to move the lines on the map. It's like all the soldiers scream, move it! So we have this one empire in France. Look at that. I mean, just one empire in Europe. That's all that's left of all of Europe. You have the precursory Yugoslavian resettlement. You have the reorganization of what once was Palestine, now in Rome. Yeah, you have basically the Italian peninsula being settled by different influential families throughout the entire Mediterranean region. You had Crimean Greeks, you had Peninsular Greeks, you had Old Egyptian Greeks, you had the Sicilians and Sardinians, and course, you had the original Lombardy Roman settlement, and basically a politically divided land meant to attempt. I shouldn't say it ever became a full replacement, because let's face it, it only had a few different people, but it just failed. I mean by that I mean Italy, the actual Italian peninsula. And there were lots of different former Roman families and kind of different representations, even from Arab houses that came and, you know, bought land there and tried to seek political influence, right? But at that point, supposedly 1,000 years ago, God, that never has any map made me feel like there's a giant chunk of time missing like that one does. Bulgar Khanate to Bulgaria. And they just forgot about Hungary, huh? Actually, it looks like the Hungarians and Bavarians were back in order at this point. After 600, the Slavs moved to the land vacated by the Goths. Yeah, that sounds like 1,000 years ago. That sounds like just the way I described it. Which was the people who had been taken slaves from the land of Thrace were sent back to what is now known as Russia, Poland, and Belarus. But what's fucked up to me is that part in the middle. Germany. Look at that right there. Isn't that like East and West Germany? Right there. Look at that. Hold on. I want to... Let's see here. I'm going to just come over here right quick. And yes. And go away. See, People lie. Politicians lie. I have lied in my life. Not on this channel. I've given uncomfortable admissions before. Yeah. Haven't exactly managed to make those even secret. But you know what never, ever, ever lies? You know what cannot tell a lie? Dead people. Those dead people are represented by the lines on these maps. Ain't that a bitch? I mean, wow. Just look at that. That's just fascinating how close that lines up, isn't it? If you ever wondered why Vienna and Venice sound the same, it's because they were parent and daughter cities. I believe there was a city near Vienna before Vienna that was burned down, and that the current village known as Vienna nowadays was basically set up by the municipality of Venice as a strategic outpost. Both for trade and for wartime advance. And to think, between these two periods, all you have is this. So 1462, it's just the Principal of Moscow coming to Kiev's rescue, fighting off the horde all by themselves. Sure. Anybody know why the hell it starts with Ivan the Third? I'm just saying that because, the third is different from the first, it's the third. You know, like, as in implying that there were two before. And there's also a vassal the third. A vassal of who? I mean, is that really a name? Or is it just like, you know, a vassal? You know what I'm saying? Eric. I find that to be pretty freaking fascinating right there. But see, the map that you're looking at right there, that's some random internet bullshit. Looks very lovely, looks very professional. But as for me, I'm not impressed by things without copyrights. You see, if somebody was going to spend some money and do this for informational purposes and put stock into the conclusions drawn by this research, they would have what you're looking at down there at the bottom left. Copyright 1994, Encyclopedia Britannica. And yes, if you're not realizing what that means that this image is, there used to be a CD-ROM that you had instead of like Google. And I wonder if you know, like, oh, let's just say a smart new social media company could integrate lots of different classical things to resurrect American greatness. Nostalgia, even. But you used to have this thing called Encyclopedia Britannica that you could buy on a CD-ROM. And you could get like the multi-CD expanded edition, right? Or the basic edition. And then you had Microsoft Encarta Encyclopedia, like was there, like Microsoft's encyclopedia. And I suppose it's they had spent all this time building a Word database for Microsoft Word and Office, right? So it seems like a pretty efficient use of product to come up with Encarta when you think about it. But Encyclopedia Britannica had been printing full volume encyclopedias since what, the fucking late 1800s? Very much an authoritative group. And back in 1994, you could get the whole thing on a disc, and it was cool. It was a groundbreaking new technology, man. The idea that you could fit all that information on one disc was pretty cool. And don't take it for granted, because this is not something that mankind will be able to get back quickly should there be a massive war. When we lose the manufacturing facilities for memory chips and stuff like that, it's going to take a long time to reinvent. And the data that we access right now could be made unavailable to us for a generation. That's scary to think about. And it's mostly because we don't have things like what you're looking at anymore. We don't have any kind of permanent media recording. Think about it. Tapes were obviously a flawed material. Okay. Digital media can be erased by a magnet, can be erased by a strong enough electronic pulse, even a static discharge. Yeah, an electrostatic discharge. Like the same thing that shocks you when you grab your car handle or after walking around with slippers in the house or something like that, like just a regular little static shock can wipe out an entire USB jump drive. Exposure to air is all it takes to destroy a hard drive. The little hard disk you have in your computer right now? Think about that. My IT friend, Mr. Rodriguez. When it all comes down to it, a hard disk is a pretty fragile thing, isn't it? Records, a little more durable than tapes, still very flawed. Oh yes, the Encarta and the Britannica. This one here, I don't know how accurate this map is, but it seems to me pretty verifiable. It seems to me like they put a lot of effort into it. Anyways, so a fucking hard drive, man. It's a hermetically sealed little series of discs. In what's called an array, okay? And you have this accessing pen. I don't know if they've managed to go to multiple motor access pens on any kind of civilian drives, but basically on a hard drive, okay, think about the round disk, each one of them. You have information everywhere on that disk, okay? Now, on the old CD-ROMs, they used to call them variable speed CD-ROMs, right? That's because you had the information striped from the center outward, okay? So you had basically large parts of that weren't being used. And for the single reading laser, the optical reading device, to access this data, it would have to spin faster the wider it was reading. On a hard drive, everything is clustered together based upon its file allocation system, whether it's, FAT16, FAT32, or what everything is now, NTFS. And that drive constantly spins at either 7,200, or nowadays you have a lot of them that spin at 10,000 RPM. When I first started building computers, it was like 3,000 RPM, then 4,800, or wait, 4,300 RPM, 4,250, and then 5,200 RPM, and then 5,800 RPM, and then I don't remember anything in the 6,000 range. Then it was 7,200 RPM, and then the 58 went down to 54. It was 5,400 RPM and 7,200 RPM for a long time, and then you had gaming hard drives come out after a few years of these 10,000 RPM hard drives only being available for like high-end servers. You had like just like a $200 fucking like 9 meg, like a tiny fucking hard drive that went 10,000 RPM. And you'd like want to buy 2 of them and set them up in RAID configuration so you can fucking dual stripe, And now I'm speaking complete gibberish to most of the audience, Carlos. The last good system I built for myself was an AGP2X machine. I had an AGP 8X motherboard, but I never actually got around to upgrading the video for it. But oh, did I enjoy my Voodoo 2s and Voodoo 3s. I had a piggyback setup that a client gave me when he upgraded to a TNT. It had 2 of the PCI Voodoo 2s piggybacked on top of one AGP2X Voodoo 2. I don't remember what I wound up doing with that. I know I used it for a little while. But I shortly thereafter wound up getting the 16 meg Voodoo 3, and then I got a 32 meg Voodoo 3, and then I switched to a TNT because I wound up getting one cheap. When they came out with the cheap TNT cards, it was on, I don't know, like, Carlos, how long have you been in the IT field? You remember when, it was like, you had like sys with like an OK Microsoft DirectX version that was like the best you could do for like a regular client for under $20, or under $50 really. There's the sys chip one. Back in the days of like Lucent technology modems, the fucking Lucent tech modem was nice, man. For the price, oh my god, did it fly. I haven't thought about this shit in years, holy crap. But back in the days of Lucent modems and Sound Blaster 16s and when the AW64 came out, remember the AW64 had 3D directional sound in the hardware processor, and it's like on everything now. Everything has it. Your fucking phone has it now, okay? But this was cool shit back in the day, to hook up a sound system and have simulated 3D in a game, so when you're moving around in the game, it tries to mimic the sound and make you feel like you're moving around in the game, right? That was a brand new fucking thing. And then, I don't know, was it the Foxconn factory? It was some kind of factory opened up somewhere and just started dumping these fucking cheap ass video cards on the market. And it was a wonderful thing. I could just suddenly build a gaming system for $500. And it was something that would just outperform something of a year or two ago before by many times over. You know? A couple years before, the client would have had to have 2 megs allocated, shared or something, if they bought like a Compaq or a Dell or whatever. For me, you'd get 4 megs on the SIS card in your AGP slot. But then, these little, like, okay, big video card, right? Regular, normal size video card, right? These fucking things were like this. And they had a ribbon cable that was like, it would come up like that and then bend 90 degrees. And that was like the DVI or the SVGA. That was the output, you know, that's where you plugged in your monitor. Just cheap as fuck. But man, then you loaded it up, and for basic functions, especially for internet browsing, that 32 megs of RAM. Oh, 32 megs of RAM. Oh. Oh, I remember my first 128 meg video card. Oh, you don't know how long I waited and pined and dreamed and drooled. I think the last video card I bought had 1.5 gigs of RAM on it. That's still nice to this day. The last one I got for myself, that was for a client. The last one I got for myself, actually, I took from that client when I put this one in there. Actually, I got his motherboard and everything. He wound up using the motherboard for another build, but buying another video card for it. And then wound up replacing it and then upgrading it over a period of like 5 years. So I wound up with his old video card from 2 different systems. And those were like my successive upgrades after my TNT 32. And the one that I have in the computer that I think is still in my kids' room. I need to try to get that fucker working. I completely forgot I had a computer back there. It's got a 512 meg. I I don't even know what the hell it's called anymore. Is it a Voodoo 3? Or Voodoo something? I don't even know. It's so pointless to even be talking about. I'm just like about to start apologizing for babbling. Like when it comes to considering, is it worth getting up to go fill in the blank there? No, I think I've been talking about this shit for too long anyways. Anyway, sorry about that. All that because of fucking encyclopedias. I wish we'd get back to that, though. You know? How cool would it be for your new Microsoft cell phone to have Encarta pre-installed? You don't gotta Google shit for definitions anymore. You just actually find the definition of something. You know, like just to think that Encyclopedia Britannica and Microsoft Encarta have been somehow replaced by Wikipedia. What the fuck is that? And like, I know Wikipedia's whole sales pitch, right? Oh yeah, oh, it's constantly updated, and the best experts can blah blah. Microsoft would have no problem hiring. What would it take, really? What would it take, really, to come up with a better product than Wikipedia? 15 people with fucking basic college degrees? Huh? 15 people working full-time, year-round? Surely. And then 3 people for each additional language. You're not talking about more than, you know, a couple hundred people. How hard can it be to pay those fucking people? That idea is out there. It's superior. It should be. Those people exist. They deserve the jobs that they should have right now. But we let fuckery run the way we do things. So that's a couple hundred people that aren't providing a valuable service to all of us. Who probably work as, you know, assistant managers at Walmart instead or something like that. Because that's what we're left with, you know, bakery by bakery, one little business at a time. Add up the percentage effectiveness, you know, I was talking about last night, by the numbers, okay? Add up the percentage of effectiveness, all those other things, and then take Wikipedia and add that to it. How much misinformation has been spread historically by Wikipedia? How many limited, disingenuous perspectives, almost even mocking perspectives when it comes to matters of faith? I mean, the glowing trend, okay, the glaring trend on Wikipedia is to have definitions regarding every faith but Christianity, just sort of said as if it were, you know, a beautiful thing, right? But when it comes to Christianity, it's just this how dare these people ever be Christian kind of fucking thing. Oh, well, they were stupid for thinking this, and they were stupid for thinking that, and they were stupid for thinking this, and they were stupid for thinking that. And that's our take on this Christian subject. I'm tired of this shit. That is called the persecution of faith. And the fact that we're only willing to persecute one faith because we think that somehow these people were so bad because they're white or whatever. It's just the fact that we're Westerners. It's just the fact that we don't participate in this fucking chauvinistic slave state that has been conquering the world for over 2,000 years. And on the one hand, we have the horde amplifying hypocrites so that straw man arguments can be made against true faith. And on the other hand, we have these faith assassins trying to control the conversation with an ambiance of pseudo-intellectualism. People think they're fucking so smart, and they can't even get basic facts straight. Anyways, I think if you want to learn history, you need to make sure that the stories people are telling you don't contradict what the lines on the map say. And when the lines on the map paint such a clear theme as that, again, not the date we're looking for. I think any writing of history that doesn't include a clear description of the horde, or at least hint at it in some way, as if they were afraid to be found out, that's perfectly acceptable. But these people that write in ignorance should be considered either morons or liars, and their opinions should not be noted as worthy of attention. Yet we call these people professors and scholars. That's where we are. Anyways, so whoever would like to help us get through the end of the month, now would be a good time. Because we're completely fucking broke now that we've had my kid's birthday party. And she didn't get much. But, anyways, I gots to go. And I'm going to try to start doing like a 2 broadcasts a day thing. I still haven't quite worked out the scheduling with school starting and trying to actually get some sleep here and there. But thanks for watching, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. I have been able to pretty consistently read comments on the videos from you guys. So if you have any ideas over the course of the day, the best place to get me a message is probably by commenting on the most recent video. And if you got any ideas for topics or things you want me to discuss, or if you just want me to get back to the damn Bible study, just let me know. And other than that, I think there's been quite enough news for today. We got Manafort on 8 counts. We got Cohen pleading guilty and basically having his lawyer, Cohen's lawyer, went on Maddow to say, "Hey Mueller, we're ready to give you info on the fucking hacking." Yes, yes, yes. Can you feel it? Huh? 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 Oh, look, my headache went away for a couple seconds there. That was lovely. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and jet. I suppose. There's like so much more crap that needs to be talked about than I have time for in a day. Anyways. That freaking bell is hurting my head. Don't distract me. I'm trying to wrap the broadcast. Anyways, so hope y'all have a good Wednesday. I'm really like anxious for like the news cycle to get started, just so I can see what else just fucking unravels. So keep an eye out for me streaming sometime in a couple of hours here, and I'll see y'all then. For now, y'all take it easy, don't take it all, and don't forget to click the like button and the subscribes and support the channel and stuff.
Walking in the sand, oh baby.